My name is Oni Jamhari, who will become the moderator for today's webinar. Today, we are really honored to have Professor Michel Delorme, and the Dean of Faculty of Management at Laurentian University. My name is Oni Jamhari, who will become the moderator for today's. Before we start, let me read Professor Delorme biography. Professor Michel Delorme is the Dean of Faculty of Management at Laurentian University in Canada. Professor Delorme comes to Laurentian University from Simmons University in Boston, USA, where he was the director of the School of Business as well as from Burgundy School of Business in Dijon, France, where he was a full professor in human resources management and organizational behavior, and the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs. Prior to that, he serves as the Vice Dean for Knowledge Development and Research at Rennes School of Business in France. Professor Delorme comes to Laurentian University with many years of experiences in international leadership positions and expertise in accreditation issues, as well as management of faculty, research, and doctoral programs. Professor Delorme has forged international partnerships with excellent academic institutions around the world. Professor Delorme's research focuses on understanding within the context of internationalization, the changing roles and responsibility of top executives and managers in modern organizations, and the competencies required to be successful leaders. Professor Delorme holds a doctorate degree in management science from University of Strasbourg, France, and an MBA degree from University of Strasbourg, Canada. Good morning, Professor Delorme. How are you today?
Thank you so much for your kind presentation, Mr. Jamari. So it is good evening for us in Canada. We started to have the winter period here. Not too much snow at this time of the year. We're expecting more snow coming very soon, and we should expect a very long winter, 5-6 months with snow. So good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and share my experience with you. The title of my presentation is Working Abroad, Challenges and Opportunities. And feel free to ask questions during my presentation if necessary, or in the chat function, and Mr. Jamari will manage the question period. So he will interrupt me if necessary, and it's not a problem. I would like also to introduce my colleague, Mr. Hugo Chen, who joined us this morning for you. Hugo is our Director of International Affairs at the Faculty of Management. So Hugo and Oni are both used to travel abroad, visit other countries, and I'm quite sure they have a lot of experiences to share with us also. So feel free, Hugo or Oni, to add during my presentation, to add your comments. So I will start with a self-introduction, just to know who I am first, and then you will understand the rest of my presentation more easily. So on the first slide, you can see that I'm a Canadian citizen. I was born in Montreal, Canada, the first of a family of 6 brothers and sisters. I'm married with Jackie, and together we have 2 daughters, Sarah and Sophie. And as far as my hobbies are concerned, I like fine food, gastronomy, of course, due to my French roots, probably. I like to have long walks, political debates, and discussions with colleagues. Recently, our neighbor in the USA provide us with a lot of possibility to discuss political issues. And I'm quite sure that you were mainly interested in what was going on in the USA and what is still going on. So this is the type of discussion I like to have also. So this is my family. You see my wife, Jackie, the little Sophie on the left side, and Sarah on the right side. On the next slide, I will present the content of my presentations. I will share with you my academic background, the leadership positions I had in different business schools. I will talk about my academic career as a faculty. I will talk a little about my professional background. I will emphasize on my international experience and areas of expertise and knowledge. So if I start with my academic background, the next slide, you can see that I received a doctorate in management sciences with a specialization in strategy from University of Strasbourg, France. This is a AACSB accredited institution. AACSB, in the jargon of accreditation bodies, is an American accreditation body. And you have to know that less than 6% of business schools worldwide are AACSB accredited. So it's a kind of label of quality. And so I had the opportunity to write a dissertation on the topic of management and competencies of top executives in high-tech companies. And I took the case of Canadian biotech organizations. Previously, I had an executive MBA from University of Sherbrooke and a Bachelor in Business Administration from Université du Québec in Montreal. On the next slide, I would like to share my academic leadership positions. So currently, I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Management at Laurentian University, 1,300 students, roughly. Previously, I was director of the School of Business at Simmons University in the USA. Before that, I spent 8 years in France, or 7 years and something. I was Vice President Academic Affairs with the Burgundy School of Business, VP Academic Affairs also with SDS, which is the Business School of Université Catholique de Lyon. And I was a Vice President Associate Dean for Knowledge Development and Research at the Rennes School of Business, also located in France, which is AACSB, EMBA, and EQUIS accredited. So I had the opportunity, as you can see on this slide, to be in different countries in leadership positions. And I will share my experience with you in just a few minutes. On the next slide, you can see that I was also, and I'm still a full professor in human resource management and organizational behavior. Previously, I was associate professor in the same area, and I was a research affiliate also with the Management of Biotechnology Firms Research Center in Montreal. If we move on to the next slide, I had also different positions of a substitute professor at the beginning of my career and senior lecturer in HR and organizational behavior in different universities in the province of Quebec, Canada. I'm from the French part of Canada. On the next slide, just a word about my professional background. Before moving to an academic career, I was a consultant. I founded my own consulting firm in human resource management and organizational behavior. So for more than 15 years, I was consulting with different types of organizations regarding human resource management issues, leadership aspects, training and development of people, and other organizational behavior activities. This is what I have done with also 2 other consulting firms before that. On the next slide, you can see, if I summarize my international experience in full-time positions, I have to highlight. So currently, I'm back to Canada after 12 years of expatriation. But just before coming back to Canada in 2019, I was in the USA with Simmons University in the area of Boston for a little less than 2 years. I spent almost 7 or 8 years in France with different business schools. I met your colleague, Mr. Jamari, at Sawbridge International School of Business in South Korea around 2009, 2010, in my case. Previously, I was an associate professor at Kuwait Maastricht Business School in Kuwait, the Middle East. And I had regular assignments in China, in Brazil, in Morocco, because we had partnerships and I was involved in teaching activities or supervisions of programs there. On the next slide, you can see my areas of expertise on the next one. So, for example, I have experience in strategic planning and operational planning in my positions. I have experience with international accreditations, mainly the most important accreditations in the field of business are WECSB, which is an American institution, AMBA, which is located in the UK, EPAS and EQUIS, who are located in Europe. So all of them have different expectations, different mindset, different values, and we need to adapt. I also have, as you can see, an international experience. I have experience in the management of faculty and pedagogy. I have experience, of course, in curriculum design, program delivery, and quality assurance. On the next slide, you see that also I have the experience of managing research and doctorate programs, management of budget, external relations with governmental bodies, industry, international partners, and so on. I have experience with the student development and success, including student services and student experience. And also, I can tell you that I have been involved in many change management processes. On the next slide, you can see the beginning of my presentation. I would like just to highlight the context. Why is it important? This is the key question. Why is this topic important as far as I'm concerned? First of all, this is something that you know, but it's important just to emphasize it. We observe globalization and international development of organizations, for example, industries expanding their operations everywhere in the world. Some companies will decide to subcontract some of their operations. They manage, for example, a factory located in the USA, but they do business with subcontractors who are located in Mexico, or they are located in Vietnam, or in China, or whatever. Other industries decide to create new companies locally. They just implement a new factory in another country. They take some expansion. Or other companies decide to partners with local companies in other countries. This is another type of situation. In all those cases, you need to know how to deal with people coming from different countries, with a different culture, speaking a different language, and with a different lifestyle, different values, and so on. A second aspect, why it is important to discuss the issue of working abroad. And this is something you know in your case due to your specialization, so you can teach this part, but we observe the development of international organizations more and more. The United Nations organization, which is extremely important nowadays. We have North American, European or Asian trade organizations. So countries do business together. They write special agreements between themselves. So it means that people coming, for example, we have an agreement in North America between USA, Canada, and Mexico. So it means that businesses do business together. So you can live now in Canada and you can be asked to move to USA because your company decides to open something there to do more business and you are required to go there. Same thing in Asia, you have other institutions. So there's more opportunities. There are more opportunities for you to travel and live in other countries if it is your desire. And we see also more and more international cooperation between countries for profit organizations or for non-profit organizations. So we know more and more people who have this opportunity to move abroad and live another type of experience. So this is the context we are now in. On the next slide, you see also that many universities and most universities, if I can say in the word, offer global perspective programs. For example, global program in management, global programs in political sciences. And therefore, they offer possibilities for students to study abroad. For example, you probably know the UMAP initiative. This is an example. You have other initiatives in Europe, for example. So there's a possibility for students to spend at least one semester or even 2 semesters in another country. You still belong to your alma mater, I mean, to your university where you continue to pay your fees, your tuition fees, but you have the opportunity to go to Canada, to go to France, to go to Italy or Japan for, let's say, one semester. You continue to progress and then you come back. This is a nice opportunity. We also know the technological development and innovation to facilitate global communications. So the social medias, the virtual meetings, it is possible for me to talk to you this morning. And I am in Canada, you are located in Indonesia, and it's nice. A few minutes ago, I was dealing with people in China, so it's always a great opportunity. And more people travel everywhere in the world for business. Of course, we see a lot of people moving for business or just for leisure purposes. So this is why it is important to understand more the ball game when you go abroad. On the next slide, I will present in the coming slides the different challenges that we have to face when we travel or we work abroad. Language problems, culture difference, business practices, and what I call etiquette. I will define it in a few minutes. So on the next slide, language. Not being able to fully express yourself and understand others could be frustrating. It's always difficult, and sometimes we face problems. We are shy to communicate with other people because we feel our English skills, for example, are not at the level we would like. eh? I don't know about you, but I'm French Canadian. I have a French Canadian accent. But I can tell you that I decided one day to push myself. The more you travel, the more you will see people who struggle with English skills, but you don't judge them. You try to understand them and just do it. Just communicate with other people. I mean, don't be shy. Just go for it. I do remember we had a prime minister in Canada many years ago. He had a very, very, very long career. I think he established a record in Canada. But this guy is from the province of Quebec also, with a very strong French Canadian accent. And he was so bad in English. But you know what? He was the Prime Minister of Canada for more than 15 years. And he was successful internationally speaking. So when I saw that, I say, well, if he can do it, let's do it. He's the Prime Minister. Right? So my advice for you, push yourself out to interact with local people. It's not always easy. You have to work on yourself, but don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be too proud to ask people to speak slower and clearer if situation allows. So, for example, if you listen to a presentation, just do it. Also, I notice, and probably the same observation by Oni, it is not uncommon to see expats with a tendency to stick together with their own people who speak the same language. This could be a potential disadvantage. It leads you to grow further apart. So, my advice is try to mix as much as possible with other students or other colleagues representing different countries. It's a good benefit for you. Go for it. I mean, it's important to go back to your roots and stick with some of your colleagues who speak the same language and eat the same food, by the way. It's correct. But do something else. You have to learn. You are there to learn something. On the next slide, another challenge that most of us we have to face is the differences in the culture. Of course, we are wired to create and stick to some habits, from the body language, dining manners, to lifestyle, social workplace interactions, and so on. This is part of us. This is part of our culture. Living abroad could significantly shaken your old habits and routines. It is important to note that you will face a cultural shock. You know, when I moved, for example, from Canada, which is one of the worst country of the world in terms of cold weather. Sometimes in Canada, sometimes you can have minus 50 degrees in the winter period. And suddenly, one day, I took the decision to accept a position in Kuwait. Well, in Kuwait, it could be sometimes plus 50 degrees Celsius during the summer period. Day after day, 50, 51, 49, 48, 51, and so on. So you can imagine it was a shock. But not only because of the weather, but a cultural shock. The country is totally different. The way they live, the way they interact, the way they think, everything is totally different. So you need a kind of capacity to adapt to this type of situations. Otherwise, you will not survive. I noticed that people who come to a new country and continue to compare what they miss and what they observe in the new country, they don't last too long because they're not happy. It's a kind of attitude that you have to build. The culture is different. Try to learn as much as possible from the new culture. Live the experience abroad. Your first step is to accept that this is not home. Your should be's are different from their should be's, and it's not always either right or wrong. It's just different. So you have to maintain a kind of open mind attitude, this is the key to succeed. On the next slide, I would like to talk about the different business practices that we can observe. Of course, business practices are closely tied to culture, economy, and some other factors. Um, for example, doing business in, let me share a couple of examples. If I have a project and I'm Italian or I'm from France or whatever, I have a project and I would like to discuss this project with a potential partner that I don't know, located in the USA. Of course, at the beginning, I will have a couple of virtual meetings and emails and so on. And one day, we need to have a face-to-face discussion to move on and finalize the project. So I could be requested to go to New York and meet my potential partner and discuss with him or with her. Don't be surprised if you go to New York and you go to the office of your potential partner, and he will probably just welcome you very, very quickly, politely. But after 1 minute, he could ask you, okay, now let's have a seat and discuss your project. And then they get to the point right now on the spot. Now, if I am the same guy living in Italy or France, and I want to do business with a potential partner in China, I go there after many virtual meetings and I am welcomed by Chinese partners to start discussing. It would not be polite for me to start discussing business right on the spot. This is not polite in China. They want to know me before. They want to build trust before discussing projects. So I should not be surprised if they ask me questions like, do you have a family? Are you married? Do you have children? And so on. This is not the type of questions we ask in Canada or in Europe, but in China, it's okay. So the business practices are different. I do remember a couple of times I went to China and I've been invited for a big meal, a very nice meal, good food, and so on. And we start drinking. They like to drink, you know, kempe. Huh? Kempe is important in China. So you have to drink. I do remember one day I was invited by a group of doctorate students. There were 30 or 40 around the table. We had a huge round table. And there we just came to the table. And after 1 minute, the leader of this group came to me and say, oh, Professor Kempe, so we needed to drink. Okay, so I stood up and then I drink. And then I sit down and immediately another came and another. And then after 5 minutes, I say, whoa, whoa, stop. I won't be able to continue. But it's part of their habits, you know, so they want to share with you their nice attitude. They want to know you and observe you at the same time. So what I like to say is no matter how much you have mentally prepared yourself, there will always be unforeseen challenges that could frustrate you, especially when everything happens at the same time. The time frame is not the same. The decision-making process is not the same. In the USA, you will feel that people will give you an answer probably on the spot. In other countries, it takes time. They have to go back and consult their colleagues and discuss. And maybe you are in a rush, but they are not. So you have to respect that. This is another business practice. And on the next slide, you can see what I call the etiquette, which is also a challenge for some of us. The meaning of etiquette is the professional usage, the expected way to behave in some countries. So like I mentioned previously, time is different. We don't have the same attitude. For example, I do remember I'm a professor, so I had the opportunity to teach in many countries of the world, and I can observe that, for example, in Anglo-Saxon countries, people respect time. In Germany, this is another example. People are there, they attend the meeting on time, and the moderator has to start on time, and so on. In other countries, I mean, it's a mix. People come and go whatever they want, whenever they want, and they don't respect time. For example, in my country, in Canada, we call it Aboriginal time. People come 30, 40 minutes after the beginning of the meeting, and then they leave. It's different. That's it, that's all. There's no right answer. Building trust is important. For some, I would say for some cultures, it is extremely important to trust the person first and then start discussing business. Gifts. In some countries, we have a tendency to come and share gifts with people. In other countries, we just don't do it. It's a question. So if you travel, if you do business, my advice is just to read a little on the topic of this country. What are the habits? What do they do? Ask questions for vis-a-vis people who have experience in this country. Because if you come with a big gift and they have nothing to give you, I mean, it could be damaging in a sense. So just try to know what are the best practices. Communication, body language, this is something that we see so many differences in the world. Huh? For example, in North America, we have a tendency to ask students, even when they are very, very young at school, let's say at the age of 5, 6, 7, we ask them to participate and participate and participate. So ask questions, be active, raise your hand, interrupt your prof, and feel free to do it. In other countries, we don't do it. People are, even in France, for example, when they are very young, young students are told, don't raise your hand, don't interrupt the professor. Who are you? I am the professor, you see? So the teaching style is different. At the same time, it influences the way you communicate. For example, it's still the case, when I welcome international students coming from Asian countries, not all of them, but many of them, they are just shy to communicate. If I ask a question, they try to look under their table, under their desk, because they don't want me to ask them a question. They're shy to answer. But in our country, participation is a must. Even you receive a grade related to your level of participation in the classroom. So students have teamwork to do. Participation is important. So we have to learn to communicate with other people. Body language also, we have a lot to say about this aspect. But for example, in Europe, in some countries of Europe, Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, people like to hug, so even if they don't really know you, they will argue. In other countries, this is rude. People don't like it. They keep a distance. They stay in their bubble. So you have to learn what is the appropriate behavior in the country where you are going to. Otherwise, you can have a problem. Let me share just one example. When I went to Kuwait the first time, the first lecture I had to give in Kuwait, I went there, let's say 30 minutes before my presentation, before my lecture. And I was at the door welcoming my students. They were adults taking MBA courses. So I would be there and say, "Oh, welcome. My name is Michel Delorme," and shake hands and so on. And I do remember I was surprised to see that one lady didn't really want me to shake hands with her. So I just forgot it because I was not used to it. It was my first day. Huh? But I understood immediately. And then I saw a big guy coming immediately after and said, "Oh, professor." And he started to kiss me on both cheeks. I was totally surprised. So we have to learn about the body language and so on. Let's move on to the next slide. So I just talked a few minutes ago about the challenges. I would like to share for a couple of minutes about the opportunities that you have. Adapting to your new country is a learning process. This learning process alone can be one of the most rewarding. I just talked to Mr. Jamari a few minutes before the presentation, and he told me that he missed probably the possibility to travel the way he was doing it when I met him in South Korea. I mean, for the moment, we cannot travel too much. In my case, the last travel with my colleague Hugo Chen was last November in China. So we missed the opportunity to travel because we know that being abroad for a while is really a rewarding experience. So, what are the benefits? If we move to the next slide, I would like to share the top 10 benefits of working abroad from my perspective. The first one, because you have this international experience, it boosts your CV. Employers value, you can see that point number 4, it is valued by employers because you can show the capacity to adapt to different situations. You have the knowledge of different cultures and the experience of dealing with within the international context. So this is really a valuable experience. It increases also your cultural awareness. We call it a cultural exploration. You discover the world. You discover some countries of the world, some parts of the world. It gives you the possibility also to expand your professional network because you know people from different countries, and it is impressive. Point number 5, you also gain a work experience, which is different compared to probably the type of experience you would get in your own country. So this is very interesting. You can face or see also higher living standards in some countries, not always, but it could be an interesting experience. Higher salaries and good working conditions in some countries. In other cases, it could be the opposite, but this is your personal choice. You can decide, for example, to work in another country with a cheaper salary, but you like your working experience, you like your job, you like what you learned. So this is an individual choice, huh? But this is something you have to consider. It provides you with more job opportunities. It gives you new perspective from a professional development point of view. And the last one, you cannot see it on the slide, but it's what I call a personal growth. You will grow personally speaking because you will become a different person. You will learn a lot from different cultures. On the next slide, I would like just to mention a couple of points that you have to consider when you have to make a decision. When making a decision, should I stay in my country or should accept an opportunity in another country? So some questions that are extremely relevant are the following. Look at the family issues. If you are alone, single, it could be more easy to decide to go abroad. But if you have a family, a spouse or children and so on, well, it's more complicated. So you need a good discussion, family discussion before making the decision. Look at the health issues and adaptation to the climate. It could, if you have health problems, for example, well, I would say don't go to the USA because it is expensive if you have to go to the hospital and you're not covered by your insurance. So you have to take care of this aspect. Look at the financial issues that are offered, the type of contract, the duration of your contract, the working conditions, insurances, holidays, possibility to go back to your country for the vacation period, and so on. Consider what we call the country culture. Regarding this aspect, I recommend that you read the work of Hofstede. Hofstede is an important author in the field of country culture. So you will see a lot of documentation regarding Hofstede and the country culture. So I recommend that you invest the time to understand more the cultural aspect of the country, what are the habits, and so on. Look at the quality of life in the new country, the way people behave. Is it interesting to be there? And so on. Think in terms of the next step, which will be after a few years, the repatriation. One day you will go back home, you will come back home, but you will be a totally different person. I left Canada for 12 years. When I came back, I thought that people were different, but maybe I was different also. So it's not the same Canada that I rediscovered. Change happened. Look at career opportunities that are provided to you because you have this international experience. Consider your career's stage. For example, if you are at the beginning of your career, it's more easy for you to work abroad. If you raise your children and you are, let's say, 55 years and older, maybe it's more easy for you also to leave the country and accept international assignments. But if you are a go-getter, you have a young family, your wife or your spouse is working, it could be more complicated. So you have to consider the stage of your career. And also, finally, um, know your type of personality. Some people think that they could be different in another country, which is not the case. Are you the type of person with a risk aversion? So if it is your case, don't go abroad because things are totally different. Feel safe at home and stay at home, which is okay. But look at your type of personality. So in conclusion, a research done by the Harvard Business Review found that people who have international experience are better problem solvers and display more creativity. It was interesting for me to share with you. Hopefully you learned something, and I'm really happy to answer your questions or just open the discussion. You have the right, the fundamental right to disagree with some aspects of my presentation, and I will be more than happy to chat with you for the remaining time. Thank you so much for your time. Oni?
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Delorme. I still remember when we met in South Korea back in 2009. It was winter time when I came to South Korea for the first time. And it's really tough actually for us, especially from Indonesia, to come to the country with four seasons. And it was really cold during winter in South Korea. And then, yes, yeah, I agree with you. was frustrating in the beginning, but after some time, after we leave and we can adjust with the cultures there, that will really enjoy working overseas. Yes, we have some students and also participants here who will ask questions. So I will invite directly first Mbak Shirley Indah Saputri. Yes, Mbak Shirley, please, you know, unmute and then your microphone, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, can you also turn on the video?
Yes, wait.
And also, please mention your name and also your affiliation, your institutions. Is it okay to turn on your video?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Please go ahead, Shirley.
Good morning, sir.
Good evening, I have to tell you.
Good evening in Canada.
Yes.
Oh, good evening in Canada. Yes. My name is Sarlinda Saputri. I'm from North Jakarta, and now I'm class 2 senior high school. I want to ask to Professor Michael how to be a quality person when working abroad. Thank you.
Could you repeat your question? How to be?
Qualified like
How to
individual.
be a quality person.
Oh, the personal qualities. You mean, for example, personal characteristics to work abroad? Huh? Well,
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
say most of the time when you are looking for a position, the first thing, if you have to go to another country, most of the countries have some limits. I mean, they are looking more for people who are for positions who are in high demand in this country. For example, if someone has nothing to offer, no specialization, no technical skills, no special knowledge, well, it's more difficult to ask you to this country to go there, get a visa, and be capable to work. So this is the first aspect. If you have something to offer and the positions that you are looking for are in high demand in this country, well, in this case, it's more easy to have access to the new country. Second, I think you need to have a type of personality, as I mentioned in my presentation, with an open mind. You need to accept that there are different people in this country who behave different way. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything that they are asking you. Huh? Let me share an example. I had students coming to France. For example, they were coming from Asian countries, Japan, South Korea, China, and they were studying in French business school. So it was their first day, and I was there to welcome them, okay, to give them a short seminar talking about the expectations of their professors in France, talking about life in France, and so on. A similar presentation than what you just had. And I do remember I told them, you will be asked by your French colleagues to participate in parties where they drink, and they will ask you to drink and do this and that. You're not obliged to do it, okay? You have your own values, and this is okay. But don't be surprised. You have to be aware that if you accept to join the party, this is the type of question French students will ask you, you know? So everybody has his own personality. So this is why I like to say, if you have a kind of risk aversion, you don't like, to be challenged, and you want to be secure, you want to be everything known in advance, well, maybe it's not for you to go abroad. But I think if you have this capacity to adapt, and you read and you prepare yourself in advance, you know where you are going, of course you will have surprises. But I mean, you can limit the risk if you know exactly what you are doing, and go for the experience. This is my advice. Go for it. You're young and you deserve to have a good time and learn from an international experience. Does it answer your question, Shirley? You are mute.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Yes, thank you very much,
Pleasure.
Shirley, and good luck with your study. Actually, we have some senior high schools actually attending our webinar today. It's quite nice,
Good.
actually. Yes, now the next question will be from Mbak Dia Nafi. Mbak Dia Nafi, please go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mr. Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning, yes. It is very interesting because you have multidisciplinary discipline, yeah, in education, management, and etc. How you manage all and how we can make a priority for our all reference preference and multidiscipline in our working abroad. Thank you, sir.
Well, your journey will start first with a self reflection at the beginning. You need to know what is the purpose of your expected experience if you decide to go to the USA or to go to Europe or to go to China. What are you looking for? And don't lie to yourself. You have to look at the good reasons. So when you do this, then you will be well prepared. The more prepared you are in advance, the more happy you will be in your international experience. So you have to document in advance what you're looking for, read everything that you can read on the new country, on the culture of this new country, the way people behave, their values. If you're working in a certain sector of activity, try to learn about this sector of activity in the new country. This is extremely important. Now, regarding your priorities and preferences, I mean, everything will be dictated by what is important for you. What are you looking for? I'm always going back to this question. Do you want to go there just to have fun, if I can say, and which is not bad. It's okay. You're young. You can go there and just study a little and move on with your studies and travel in the new country and visit people, which is okay. But if you want to go there and let's say study art, and if you attend a very difficult institutions, well, you have limited opportunities to travel. So you have to know exactly what you're looking for. I saw many students coming to France. As you know, France is the most visited country in the world. So it is a temptation for you when you go to France to visit all the countries around because you're not far from Italy, from Germany, Belgium, and name it. So I saw students who came and they immediately wanted to travel and see everything. And then they came back to the school and they say, well, I have no time to study. Well, I am here to evaluate your assignments. I cannot take into consideration your travels. So you have to know exactly what you're looking for. But all the reasons are good to study abroad or to work abroad or just go and visit. Does it answer your question, Dai?
Uh, how about your some disciplines and how to manage all? I mean multitasking, yeah.
What do you mean by disciplines?
Uh, in education, in psychology, in business, in another fields. I saw on
Okay.
your profile.
Well, I would say that the most opportunities are provided for people in the field of, let's say, computer sciences, engineering, um, management positions, and also health care. So you see a big demand, especially in industrialized countries, such as countries in Europe, USA, Canada. Those are countries where the level of education is high, but the population is getting older and older and older. And we don't have we don't have a baby boom at all. So it means that those countries are looking for younger people to come and get positions in the field of education, also health, engineering, management positions, and so on. So there's a big demand for people who would like to move to those countries just for a limited period of time or for a full-time job.
But you suggest us to focus one field for one time, yeah, before we can jump to another field, or we can multitasking.
Well, I think it's always better to be prepared to offer something specific. Then, when you have this opportunity and you are invited to come to this country and have a position, after that, you can decide to go for something else, you know. But if you come and you say, I can do whatever is necessary, they don't like it. They're looking for something specific. So look at, I would say, the professions who are in high demand in this country, and it will give you a better chance.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mbak Dia Nafi and Professor Delorme. We have a question from students in the chat box. My name is Dewi Lestari, alumni of SGPP Indonesia. The first question, from public policy perspective, what the governments in the origin and destination countries should do to face escalated challenges related to multiculturalism and racism, wage differences between migrants and non-migrants, as well as integration of international migrants. The second question is, if there is a possibility, how international migrants or diasporas should contribute in the migration policy formulation or arrangement to their origin governments in order to gain maximum advantage of the economic and social development in both origin and destination countries?
It's a very complex question. I think it's a very relevant question that we observe in many countries, actually. And unfortunately, I see that we don't know how to manage it. In Canada, I feel that we are a little far away from those problems because of the geographical location of Canada up north in North America, north of North America. So we don't see people coming from by boat. We don't see boat people coming to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But also Canada is a huge country with only, it's the second biggest country in the world with only 30 million of population. So we have a lot of room to welcome people. Canada has a kind of a multicultural dimension or perspective. It's one of the main characteristics of Canada. In other words, we welcome people from all of us, I have to say, because it's a young country, only 400 years. So all of us, we come from immigration. I mean, my ancestors were from France. Many people have ancestors coming from the UK, other from Italy later on. And then there was a crisis in Europe and people from Ireland moved to Canada. So, and now more recently, we have a lot of people coming from Asia, a lot. So you see many, many different cultures in Canada. This is what we call a multicultural country. It's rare. And it's more easy, I would say, for different communities to be integrated within the Canadian system. We take good care. They have access to a good education system, a good healthcare system. They can find a job more easily because, I mean, we don't have a problem of unemployment, not too much. And I think also the attitude of Canadian towards people who are different is good. Of course, like the rest of the countries, we face some criticism. People will say, well, I'm not happy because I feel I don't have the respect I should deserve and so on. But Canada is a nice place. So our problem is not the same compared to what I observe in France. For example, in France, because of their geopolitical situation, uh, France has an attitude or had an attitude of being a colonialist at that time. So they raise other people in other countries. And this aspect with the North African countries, for example, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and many more. So now they are upset with the prevailing attitude of France before, and they want to be more respected. So this is why now they came to France, but at the end of the day, they don't have jobs the way they would like, and they feel they are discriminated compared to the French people living there. So this is why you see in France a lot of problems. And on top of that, you have people coming from, both people, if we can say, coming from other countries, from Africa and so on, who would like to settle in Europe, and the capacity of European countries to absorb all the people, all the migrants who would like to come, the capacity is limited. So it creates a huge problem. Now, from I would say, a philosophical point of view, I'm Canadian. We have a huge country, not too many people living here. Do we have the right to say, no, you should not come to our country? Do we have the right? It's a big question. I don't have the answer, but I feel there's a room for everybody because the country can offer food, water, security for many, many more people. This is a big debate. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Professor Delorme. And now we have questions from Julfi Muhammad. Please, open your video and also unmute your video.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Good morning from Indonesia. First of all, I'm Zulfi from Senior High School 69 Jakarta, and I would like to ask about your experience. As you told us that you have 4 challenges while we are working in a board. Anyway, what is the biggest challenges while we are working in a board, and what is the big opportunity when we are working in a board? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. I would say the biggest challenge I faced it a couple of times was the cultural difference, not with people in the streets, not with my neighbors, but in the workplace. So I will explain my answer. I'm from North America. We are used to have a certain level of autonomy. We are used to participate in the decision-making process of our organizations. This is what they teach, and this is what we apply, even when we are young. So I do remember when I went, for example, to Kuwait, and I don't want to criticize, I just want to share why I left the Kuwait finally. I went there and I felt that in Kuwait, you have a system of categories of people. The Kuwaiti people, and then the white people, and I'm sorry, I'm just honest with what I observed, and then the rest, you know. So in my case, I was lucky because I was white and I had the doctorate degree, so I was respected, kind of. But for the other people, I do remember we had people working for us coming from other countries. Um, and I was not happy to see the way they were treated by Kuwaiti people. You know, not no respect at all. And this is something I have never seen in my life. So it was a cultural shock, you know, to see that. Also, I do remember I was a professor in an MBA degree. I had two students in my classroom. They were married together, man and woman, okay? And the two were young adults, let's say 30 something years old. And the lady, I was supervising the lady for a thesis. And one day, after a couple of months, she came to my office and suddenly she started to cry. And I say, well, what's going on? And she told me, oh, I have to stop my study. I say, why? Because my husband doesn't want me to continue. Oh, and according to our culture, she had to listen and obey to her husband, you know, which is totally different for me, totally unacceptable, you know. So I tried to talk to her and she said, no, no, no. So I said, do you want me to talk to your husband? No, 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 don't do that because it will be. So I said, okay. But finally, a couple of days after, I was so upset for her because she was a brilliant student. And I decided to talk to her husband, which I was one of my students. And I told him, it's a pity for me to see that your wife cannot continue to study. I think she has the potential. And if you could do something to help her develop her skills, you would be a great man, you know? But I took a chance because I could be, you know, arrested, honestly, put in jail because it affects the religious principles for them. And I should not, you know. So I took a chance because honestly, I think she deserved it. But this type of cultural differences is important. When I was in South Korea, another example, we are used in North America to participate in decision-making process. Now in South Korea, it doesn't work this way. One day, I've been hired, and one day they came to my office and they say, oh, professor, you are moving with your family in 2 days from now. I say, no, no, I don't want to move. I'm happy with where I am. Before coming, I already asked you all the details, and nobody talked to me about moving. So what is the problem? They said, no, no. So they send people to move us. We were forced to move to another apartment. I was shocked because this is not something you do in North America. So this is a cultural difference. I was unable to accept it, and I decided to say goodbye. Thank you. It's a pity because it's a nice country and people are so nice. But I mean, it was a question of principle. So I would say the difficult part is most of the time the cultural aspects. Now, it is rewarding on the other end because I had the opportunity to take many responsibilities in new countries because we had to build something. Salisbury International School of Business was in South Korea, was a young institution. Everything was to be developed and implemented. It was great, you know. You face big challenge. You learn a lot. You learn a lot, and the possibilities are there. So, great question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Delorme. It seems that there's still a lot of questions from the chat box, but I'm going to invite Fleming Pangabean. Yes, please unmute, and then you can ask directly your question to Professor Delorme. Yes. Also, you turn on your video, please. Yeah.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello?
Hello, Professor Michel.
Hello?
Wait a minute. The microphone.
Hello, Professor. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so good evening, Professor Michel.
Thank you.
Good morning from Semarang. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry, my video is not good. So my
It's
name is
okay.
Fleming. My name is Fleming, and I'm from Semarang, Semarang City in Indonesia. And now I'm working as a faculty member in management. So I work in the private university. So actually, I am a friend of Pak Oni Jamhari. So hello, Mas Oni.
Hello, how are you, Mas
Yeah.
Fleming? Yes, thank you
Hi.
very
Good.
much
Good.
for participating in the
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So it's a really good topic. Yeah, because recently I'm looking for like a chance to work abroad, and I'm so impressed with your professional experiences. And you mentioned several job profiles before, and you did many international job in abroad, and then you finally went back to Canada, right? And you become a
Yes.
full-time faculty member, and now you're a professor and also the dean for faculty of management. Okay, so frankly, actually I have gained my international experiences before. I did my master in Taiwan, and after I finished my master, I got a job offer in Malaysia. And then later on, I continue my doctoral study in Taiwan again. But finally, I declined it. I declined it because for some reasons. And I also did my independent research. One time I went to Korea and did my independent research. My questions to Professor Michel, would you please telling us like the chance to work in Canada? But if we firstly enter Canada by taking or mean I applying a degree program or non-degree program, and then we are targeting to to find a job in Canada. Would you please telling us the chance to work in Canada after we finish our degree program or non-degree program in Canada? Because honestly speaking, as I mentioned in the early, I'm looking for a chance to work in abroad again, especially in the English-speaking countries like Canada. So that's my questions. Thank you, Professor Michel.
Thank you for your question, Fleming. Um,
Yes. Welcome.
in countries such as Canada, the USA, UK, France, and so on, we have a lot of applicants coming from different countries. And the first thing, if you want to become a full-time professor, for example, I would say the most important thing is, first of all, to complete your doctorate program first. And second, at the same time, to be active in research. This is a requirement that we have in most of the universities. They will always ask you, do you have your doctorate degree completed, in which discipline, and are you active, are you research active? This is the name of the game, actually, in most of the cases. It doesn't mean that we don't have exceptions, but they are really exceptions. For example, if you have something unique to offer, a special experience or whatever, it could compensate for a doctorate program, but not always. On the other hand, you have other countries where this type of expectation is not the same. I think, for example, when I was in South Korea or even in Kuwait, someone who has a master degree with a good working experience, good international experience, would be appreciated to become a faculty member full time. But if the school wants to be accredited, get the international accreditation, they are looking for high level of qualifications. So this is what we observe in Canada. Otherwise, if you want to teach in another category of, let's say, colleges or secondary school, this is different. You don't need a doctorate degree in that case. It's another type of working condition, but it could be extremely interesting also. So I encourage you to have a look. If Canada is one of your favorite destination, I encourage you to have a look at the Canadian government website, and you will see a lot
Mm-hmm.
of information. And I will be more than happy to guide you also.
All right. Thank you, Professor.
Thank
Welcome.
you very much, Professor Delorme, and also Mas Fleming. I hope that
Kasih, Mas Oni.
questions. And actually, there is also similar questions from Eka Nursolika. I'm going to read her question. Good morning from Indonesia. Hello, my name is Eka, a technical product manager from a startup technology company in Jakarta. I would like to know about the prospect of job from technology industry in Canada. In USA, as we all know, there are Silicon Valley where the technology is rapidly growing. I would like to know about the job opportunity for people coming from technology industry in Canada. Also, is there any organization or website that provide the information for foreigners about the current job opportunity for expats in Canada or even assistant?
Well, thank you for your question. Of course, Canada is considered a country where we provide jobs in the high-tech economy. We have a good industry in different sectors of activities. For example, the biotech industry in Canada is an important cluster. Canada is ranked amongst the five best countries for the biotech industries and the pharmaceutical companies. We have also companies involved in the innovation. So there are a lot of possibilities for people with technical skills to come to Canada. So my recommendation for you would be to consult the website of the Government of Canada and look at also if you type, you Google some keywords, you will find many opportunities and they will let you know what to do if you want to apply for a position in Canada. So at the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that Canada will welcome people who have something or skills or competencies to offer. And this is something in high demand. All the technical skills, technological skills, and so on are really in demand in Canada because we have a strong industry related to that. So good luck.
Thank you very much, Professor Delorme. And there is a question from our YouTube channel. My name is Teguh from Solo, and my question is, what are the opportunities and also the challenges for working abroad during this pandemic and after the pandemics? Thank you.
Well, actually, it's difficult to have access to some countries. As you know, it's more difficult to travel. It doesn't mean that you have to stop everything. I would say if you're looking for an international career, it's time for you to start doing your self-reflection, prepare your CV, read on the countries, learn about the country culture, prepare your materials to find a job, and start investing time to contact and send your CV and contact people and so on, because the pandemic is there, but for a limited period of time, hopefully. I mean, we can think that in 1 year from now, we will go back to maybe business as usual. I cannot predict. I'm not an expert in healthcare, but I'm positive that one day we will get back to the normal situation. So it means don't stop everything. Start preparing yourself. Start reading. Start thinking about your individual project abroad, and connect with people and do your homeworks. It's the good time to do it. But for the moment, of course, it's more difficult because for a couple of additional months, it's difficult to, for example, to travel abroad. So even in my case, I don't travel. I stay at home like the rest of you. We have to be extremely careful. So, but we will come back to normal very soon. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Professor Delorme. And then I think your explanation just actually also answered Putra Prastio question related about the preparation to work overseas, as well as from Suparmanto or Manto, because they asked about the preparation. Actually, they can prepare. You mentioned earlier that we have to prepare, set up the goal and everything to go overseas. Professor Delorme, we don't have enough time. Now it's like 5 minutes before we end the sessions. Before we end the sessions, probably Professor Delorme, you can suggest or advise people who are on the Zoom as well as on the YouTube, actually, what is the best or preparations that we can actually work overseas, and quotation that internationally like become global citizens, Professor Delorme.
Well, I would say that the most important thing is probably to conduct a self-reflection. You have to know exactly what is your target in your life, what you would like to accomplish, and it takes time. If you are highly motivated, you will see many opportunities, you will be excited, and you will see a lot of choices coming for you. But you have to think, what is according to my personality, according to my competencies, according to my family situation, and so on. You have to consider different elements and see if you are ready to make a move. I think it is always an exciting opportunity to go abroad, to study abroad, or it could be interesting just to go for 1 year, let's say, in another country to study there and see if you like this country, and then come back and think about your future. I think it's great. The world is so small. We have so many things, so many countries, so many cultures, so many people to discover, and it is rich. I mean, I would not change my life even if it was difficult sometimes. Can you imagine? I have a family with my wife and two young daughters. We move 14 times in 12 years, from Canada to Kuwait to South Korea to France, and to try 4 places in France and USA and Canada again. So 14 times, big moves. But I like it. I mean, I am ready. I was ready. My family was ready. And I see my two daughters who are young, and they have this richness, this international experience, and I think it's great for all of us. So I encourage you to study or to live abroad or to work abroad. Don't be discouraged because sometimes it's more difficult. The competition is extremely tough. Many people would like to come to Canada. Many people would like to go to the USA or to the UK or to France. But I mean, just focus, continue to fight for it, go for it, and I'm quite sure that you will succeed. Just don't be disappointed too much. Just stay positive. I saw some positive comments on the chat, not too many because I was looking at your profile instead of the chat, but I would like to thank people who send me very nice messages. Thank you so much. And let's keep in touch. If there is something I can do, you can connect via Oni, and you can send me your message, and I will be more than delighted to answer additional questions in the coming days.
Yes. Thank you
so
very
much.
much, Professor Delorme, for the insight. I think the 2 days discussion is really interesting. And then people who join this program either through Zoom or YouTube, they get new insight actually about the working abroad challenges and opportunities. On behalf of School of the Government and Public Policy Indonesia, once again, I would like to thank to Professor Delorme and also Hugo, who supported us through this program, and also Dani and also Mbak Sally from SGPP who helped us to organize this program. And for those who like to know about SGPP, you can check our social media at SGPP Indonesia, Instagram, Facebook, and also LinkedIn. So we have a lot of webinars and also workshops, and it's open to the public. And once again, I would like to thanks and this is just the information from Dani. And then actually today we have webinar on 18 to 11. So we have working over webinars. And next week we are going to have 3 workshops. Introduction to research writing by Dr. Novianto Budi. And then after that, we also have another workshop, Komunikasi Lintas Budaya, and from the facilitators will be Dr. Poni Janlio and also our alumni, Mbak Ida Ayu Prasastia Dewi. And the last one, we also have another workshop, Guidelines to Academic Paper Writing. Please check in our website or our social media for all information to related to SGPP programs and activities. Once again, thank you very much, Professor Delorme and everyone to joining our programs today. Oh, there is another thing that actually open our admissions for 2000 and 2022. So on the run application, that one will be on the 30th of November, and you can also apply directly through the admissions.sgpp.ac.id. And if you want to ask more or to get more information, you can check into our website, as well as send email to admission@sgpp.ac.id or through our WhatsApp in the poster. So once again, thank you very much. And everybody stay safe, stay healthy. It's not easy during this pandemic, but Professor Delorme also mentioned earlier, be positive and whatever that we have to set the target, and then I think we can succeed in our life. Once again, thank you very much. Good morning and good evening in Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your attendance, and it was really an interesting experience for me to share with you today. And I wish that someday I will go and visit you in Indonesia as soon as possible. It's a promise.
Thank you very much, Professor Delorme.
Thank you so much.
Yes.